The sound of Icelandic musician Kristín Lárusdóttir, a classical cellist with a passion for Icelandic folk song, rimur, and someone who crosses into electronica, jazz, and even tango. I'm Helen Shaw, and you're listening to Mother's Blood Sister Songs, a project where I'm collaborating with the Irish composer Linda Buckley to explore how the genetics of Iceland reveals its Gaelic roots, and to see how the threads that connect the two places are often culture and music. Now, Kristín has played with the Icelandic Opera, the Symphony Orchestra of North Iceland, and she's a member of Five in Tango and Reykjavik Baroque. Now, she performs as Selló Stína, a gentle play on her name and the instrument she plays. And Linda and I met up with her one Sunday morning just outside Reykjavik, where she was playing cello at her local church.
My name is Kristín Lárusdóttir. I come from Iceland. I'm a cellist and teacher, music teacher, and I also do electronic music, and I love Icelandic chanting, what we call kveðandi eða rimnalög. That's what I have been doing for like maybe 20 or more than 20 years.
So I find your background really interesting in that you have very strong grounding in Baroque music, in cello playing, in classical music in general, in Icelandic folk music, and also in electronic music. So maybe you kind of weave an interesting path between these worlds. I heard some of your music where you're integrating elements of rimur with electronics and the cello. Maybe tell us a little bit about why you decided to bring those worlds together.
Yeah, it's just when I started to do my own music, compose and electronic, and then it somehow just automatically came just this influence from what I have been doing earlier. For example, the rimnakveðskapur, the Icelandic chanting, and of course because I'm a classical cellist, that's my basic, so of course that also influenced my music making and Baroque music and all kinds of things. My mom plays a bit piano, but my father, he never learned any instruments, but he nevertheless thought it's very important for me and my sister to learn music, and my both parents thought it important, and so they put me and my sister to music school when we were 6-year-old, and then when I was 8-year-old I chose my cello, and yeah.
And what brought you to rimur? How did you first hear it?
Yeah, I of course heard it sometimes in the radio, and I was maybe more just aware of it. And of course I know Icelandic music. That's of course they teach some Icelandic folk songs in schools and music schools. But then somehow around 20 I went to some, I think it was just some lecture in the university when they were talking about rimnakveðskap or like you say rimur, and then there was no turning back.
What was it about it that you loved?
I don't know, it's just so, in a way it can be, it's our mantras, it's calming and it's somehow inspiring, and there's so much in it I cannot explain. Yeah.
And traditionally it would have been chanted without any instruments. Do you know of others who have added that to the performance of rimur?
Yeah, well, we don't know exactly everything about the old time here about music. They say that there were few instruments, but it is quite unexplored. Yeah, our folk music is mostly in it's the voice. We, like, if you compare to other Nordic countries, they use very much instruments, but we use the voice a lot.
And I just wonder, at the moment and in the current music scene here, do you feel that is being explored by others?
Yeah, there are some people that are doing it, like Bára Grims that you met earlier, and her husband Chris. And then Eyjólfur Eyjólfsson, a singer, he have been using a lot langspil, the Icelandic instrument that was used here. Yeah, there are maybe not so actively, but there are some others that maybe are experimenting.
I'm very curious about electronic music here, because of course electronic music is a part of what you do as well. What brought you to that aspect, and what was the thing that really drew you in? I feel like Icelanders have this connection to electronic music somehow.
Yeah, it was just, actually I was on my way to learn French in the university because of my Baroque music. I was doing a lot of Baroque music and thought I should learn then French and Italian, because they affect the music in the Baroque, I think. And then everything collapsed in Iceland and they cut down the course I was going to in the university, and then somehow, just by chance, I went to, it was actually my parents, they said, why do you not go there? There's a school in Kópavogur, they have very good teaching in electronic music, very great teachers. And I went there, and then when I came there, I just found, wow, this is where I should be, this is my world, new door that opens. And for me, when I have so strict classical background, then it was a bit kind of liberation, and I could somehow find my voice, and I'm still trying to find my voice, and just nice to experiment and because I love the Icelandic chanting and Icelandic folk music, it's nice also to bring that into it, and yeah.
And in the way some other Icelandic artists have used electronics, I often feel that it's inspired or connected to open, expansive landscape, even Björk and Sigur Rós and Amina and Moom. And I mean, do you feel like you're influenced by that in your own music?
Yeah, it definitely inspired my music making, and I have done a lot of just go with my little record machine and record the nature sound, and sometimes I put it in my music making, and yeah. But that's very interesting still here. I would like to say, I feel like Icelandic people are in general very ashamed of our music heritage. But when we get guests like you, we say like glöggt gestauga. Guests, they can often see things clearly than we here, and you love this rimur and the language, but then somehow we are always excusing ourselves, and like, for example, there's no hardcore teaching in music, Icelandic music heritage. So that's quite strange, but we're so busy to always do something else, learn African music or Indian music, but then we push the Icelandic heritage to the side, and no, it's not cool enough.
And why do you think that is, looking outwards as opposed to inwards at one's own culture here?
I am not sure, but if you're thinking about why we have this shame in our blood, then some people talk about because for a long time we were so isolated and we were very poor, and then at the time we got more open, and then it was very important for us to be nation among the nation. But I think it is important for every nation to know about the root, and for us here in Iceland, it's part of our self-esteem. The language is so big, and the manuscript and this rimur, it's so big part of our self-image, but hopefully we will rise one day, and there are, through the years, there have been very many people working hard job, like Bára Grims, Steindur Andersen, and a lot of people that have been working very hard job for rimur and folk music, and so I can feel it, and I believe soon we will have how do you say
revolution,
yeah.
Icelandic folk music.
Yeah, and now, like 15th of September, we are celebrating first time Dagur Rimnalagsins, day of the chanting day,
I was going to ask you about Steindór Andersen because I think he brought rimur to a lot of the wider world outside of Iceland and the work that he did with Sigur Rós as well. Maybe tell me a little bit about the work that you've done with him.
Yeah, well, it's not maybe so much. I was just, there was a few times we were doing some stemmer or this chanting, and he was chanting and I was composing, arranging around it just with my cello. And then actually this one piece we were doing, I took it then later on into the computer and add to it afterwards. So the basic was just his voice and my cello, and then I took that recording and put to my computer and add other layers on it, and so something like that we have been doing. And
you've worked as well with Sigur Rós, I see.
I just played in just few songs in it was just in a studio. They needed just a small string octet, and I was just playing in some 3-4 songs.
And what do you think about, so Sigur Rós, of course, you know, captured the imagination of many people outside of this country, and why do you think that is? Why the huge explosion of interest in Iceland through the music?
Yeah, you mean why people get interested in Iceland through music? I don't know. It's difficult to say. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they can sense some kind of spirit that is here, or some kind of freedom, or unspoiled nature spirit. I don't know. But I don't know. I think still we are not so pure here in Iceland. The nature is still in danger. We are not so pure as we try to play.
And the role of women in music seems very strong and important here, and it's part of some of the work that you've done.
Yeah, you mean the Icelandic women are strong? I'm not sure. It's just so normal for me if there are women choir or women singing. But I mean, like the chanting, they're both men and women. And actually, where my grandma grew up, that it was a tradition to just the men choir to sing in the funerals. But there was nothing bad about that. We had a lot of choirs, and singing is very important. And I think the singing for everyone in the world is really important, because that's how we learn. And because people talk about we talk about the kids when they start to learn to talk, but they learn through singing. Like you hear, they are maybe da 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 da. They maybe capture something in the area, or in the environment, some sound, and then they start to sing it to practice it. So I think it's really important that every child grow up with singing at the home, in school, and that's important to support that from the government. And I actually think it's human right for kids and teenagers and people to have singing and music in their life. It's so important.
I suppose I just had one question about, you went to study in London and then you returned back home to Iceland, and was there a feeling of really wanting to return home and bring that new learning back with you?
Yeah, actually I was first 5 years in Finland and then 1 year in London. And yeah, I was eager. I know, maybe because we are so few, and I feel somehow duty to take part in the society and bring to the society to somehow make things nicer and make things work. I know, and yeah, that was my feeling then. And also I wanted to nurture also this chanting passion of mine, and it's my passion to also to bring it to the people and the youth, and because I think it would be pity if we would lose it. It's a living tradition, and and that's another where people don't know. They just point at you and say, "Oh, you're just old-fashioned in the old time." But this chanting is living tradition that goes between people. You even can have a new rimur that you chant with old songs, or you can have new songs with old rimur. I mean, this is just living tradition and really cool thing.
And do you feel that combining rimur with cello and electronics is bringing it to a new audience?
Maybe, I hope. It was maybe not in the beginning my plan, but it was just somehow me expressing myself and doing things. But yeah, I maybe it will be my plan now to do it more markvisst, more regularly, to try to connect to people and to get them into this amazing world of chanting. Actually, I have been doing it already with my student. Through the years, I have always been teaching my cello students, or if I have orchestra or teaching music in one way or other, I always try to teach them about the chanting. And sometimes I have even let them to do some improvising with the chanting or electronic music. So I'm to show the students that you can also be more like just straight from the cow, like we say, or you can also play with it if you want.
And that's Selló Stína, Kristín Lárusdóttir, talking music, gender and identity with Linda Buckley for the Mother's Blood Sister Song series. I've put some links to her work, including a short video of her playing, on our website, mothersbloodsistersongs.com. Thanks for listening.